Good evening. Welcome to Ginger's Love. Tonight we have a special guest with us again, Mr. Maurice McDonald. Welcome to Ginger's Love. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thank you for having me. Um, by myself, my name is Maurice McDonald. 53 years old. Right. Um, Born in Los Angeles. Uh, Moved to Little Rock when I was about 5. Since then, um, back and forth primarily all my childhood. So much to the point to where I end up going to elementary, junior high, and high school in both places. So it was like every other year I was back and forth. So I grew up in two cultures. Uh, my older years, I got involved with selling drugs, and you know, came known in the street. Um, in 1998, I was uh, charged in a 54-man indictment with conspiracy to distribute cocaine base, marijuana, and PCP. Um, and I also had like 3 distribution charges, substantive counts, what they are, of the conspiracy, along with the general conspiracy. Um, when I was arrested, a gun was shot out of my hand, so I was indicted for that gun. It was a Heckler and Koch 45. They shot my finger off, shot this finger off, and they hit me right here in the arm on the morning of my arrest. Um, I was locked up, and at the beginning of '99, I was convicted of conspiracy, uh, distribution in charge of 2 ounces, and a distribution charge of 15 ounces of crack cocaine, and 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 a gun charge. And I ended up getting life sentence on the conspiracy. I ended up getting life sentence on the 15-ounce charge. I ended up getting a life sentence on the 2-ounce charge, and 20 years on the firearms count.
Oh, wow. Okay, so the two cultures, I want to go back to your childhood growing up. You said you were raised in California and Arkansas. How was that? Like, how was that experience going back and forth throughout what grade?
I probably started going back. I think I went to kindergarten, first, second, third, and beginning half of the fourth
Hmm.
in Arkansas.
Okay.
Then I can remember going back to LA, finishing the fourth grade in LA. The fifth grade, I lived in the jungles. Where everybody singing Training Day, where that was filmed at in the jungles.
Okay, yes.
Yeah,
Training day.
so
Hmm.
I lived over there on Hillcrest, and I went to Hillcrest Elementary. So half of the fourth, the fifth grade, and the sixth grade went to Hillcrest. Um, I left there and the junior high school. So I told you I live in the jungle, so everybody in the jungles usually go to Audubon. So I went to Audubon Junior High School in the seventh grade.
Hmm.
Then eighth grade, I came back to Arkansas, and I finished the eighth grade in Dunbar, right? And eighth and ninth grade, then I went back to LA and went to Fremont High School for the 10th grade,
Okay.
right? Uh, Getting into stuff out there. So I was getting to that age where I was like kind of thinking more for myself and
Mm.
can choose, like can decipher, like wow, like logic, and my deciphering skills starting to hone in. So I played the two places over in my brain. I was 16,
Mm-hmm.
and I was saying that told my mama when grandma come this year that I'm going back with her to Arkansas, and I ain't never coming back.
Okay.
And when she came that summer, I left with her. That's when I decided to make Arkansas my home
At 16.
at 16.
Okay.
Yeah,
So go ahead. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
So going back and forth in that time, how was that? How were you moving, or what was the reason behind you moving back and forth? Because that's like instability in the early on
Yeah,
in
but
your life in your childhood, and that was like back and forth consistently. What about the change
well,
in your location?
you could think it's a number of things. It's a number of things could about it, right? It's a reason. My grandmother took me from my mother when I was one. She took me. I can't remember, of course, but from my understanding, we flew from Los Angeles. So my grandmother, let me tell you a little bit about my grandmother. She she moved to L.A. late 40s, early 50s. In that Great Migration, she moved there. So she stayed out there for 20 something, 20 plus years,
Okay.
living in Compton,
Hmm.
right? So what I'm saying? She became game tight. You can just imagine.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So she took me from my mama. My mama was into a lot of stuff. She was young and wild, into a lot of stuff. So she took me from my mama. I was one, and she took me to New York. And from my understanding, we lived in New York in 2 years. All right. Then we left New York, went to Detroit, and we lived in Detroit for a couple of years. Then we left there and went to St. Louis. We didn't stay there that long. Then we ended up leaving St. Louis, and that's when she came back to Arkansas. She's really originally from England, Arkansas,
Hmm.
right? Which all my whole family is. That's originally where they're from.
Okay.
But her mother had already bought a house on 21st Street in between High Street. Back then it was High Street, in between High Street and Marshall. So she bought a house 2 blocks up on that same street,
Hmm.
in between Pulaski and Crossing. That's the house that I grew up in.
Okay. So you learned some adaptability skills early on, just being able to, like, adventurous childhood, being able to see different things, experience different things. So you wasn't only just in between Arkansas and California. You explored as a child anyway. You explored quite a few different places.
Absolutely, and it hurt that my grandmother loved to travel, so she had me everywhere. Where she went, I was going. So yeah, we was all over this country.
Okay, so tell me about the conviction. I know from your childhood going into 16. Did you graduate from high school?
I did.
You were able to. Okay, that's
Yeah,
good.
a lot of summer school, but I did graduate.
Summer school. Okay. How was school?
School was fun.
It was fun.
School was fun for me. I didn't not like going to school. Like school was a cool place. It's always been just me,
Hmm.
right? I got brothers and sisters, but I'm the oldest, and I wasn't around none of my brothers and sisters on my father's side that would have been around my age. My mother only had 3 kids. I'm 14 years older than my brother Chris.
Hmm.
I'm 21 years older than my sister Sybil.
Okay.
So, I was a father figure to them more than anything else. Um, while they was growing up, for the times I was here before I got locked up. But what was the question?
I was asking about school,
Oh yeah, well
because
school,
we
yeah,
got up to
yeah, that's right.
16
So
years old when
so
you
so
go ahead.
school was nice.
Hmm.
School was nice. Always had good comprehension.
Mm-hmm.
I could always pick up on the lessons pretty easy. Uh, Nothing was ever really difficult in school.
Okay.
Um, Math, love math. Always breezed right through all math. Um, Science was interesting. So those, I would have to say, would be my two favorite subjects going to school was math and science,
Okay.
and then English. I've always loved to read. I was reading whole books by the time I was 5 years old, 4 or 5 years old, could read anything.
Signs of
So
intelligence.
uh, always been a good reader, avid reader.
Okay, so you made it through high school. That's great. Even though going back and forth, you were able to go to summer school, and you mentioned that you were kind of like a father figure. And then we are talking about evidently you got into some trouble in that time and faced the conspiracy charges and things to that nature. So just trying to keep the story together, the time in where you were like a father figure, how was that for you? How many siblings do you
I
have?
only had two. My
Oh, two.
mother, as I
Okay.
said, my mother only had two, and like I'm 14, 21 years older, so
Okay.
we don't got nothing in common. And when I'm
You're older.
around them, I'm a nurturer, a protector,
So just
a
natural.
provider around them. It's my little
Hmm.
brother and my little sister.
Okay.
My mama is on what she on.
Hmm.
So somebody got to look. When I'm around, I'm the one that's gonna look out for
It was just
them. Feel me?
natural.
Well, it's yeah, I guess you could say. My little brother and sister.
Hmm.
I'm gonna do what I gotta do to protect them, to make sure they're straight.
Okay.
So I guess you could say that's natural.
So the charge 99, 98, you were charged, and 99 you were convicted, and you mentioned life sentences for 2 ounces.
Yeah, I got a life sentence for the 2 ounce charge. Um, I got a life sentence for the 15-ounce charge. Now, mind you, I was charged with 15 ounces,
Hmm.
but the evidence pointed out specifically 15 pounds of weed. The judge still let, even though everybody knew that and evidence came out to that, the judge still let the jury convict me as charged if it was any drug that was in the general conspiracy. And since marijuana was in that general conspiracy, they found me guilty of distributing 15 ounces of crack, right? When you knew that the charge dealt with 15 pounds of weed. That's crazy, ain't it?
How was that? How?
I mean, this is our justice system.
Wow.
You know what I mean? This is all what I'm telling you is based on a true story. We
Hmm.
got the documents to prove it, word for
Wow.
word, right? So, uh, yeah, that was hard.
Hmm.
Getting those life sentences. Um, I didn't even know it at the time. I'd be sitting here lying to you to if I was to tell you at the time that I was sentenced that I knew I had three separate life sentences. I was oblivious to that. I didn't find that out till later on in the game. I'm in the at Leavenworth United States Penitentiary, high max, right? I didn't find that out till I was there. I really didn't find it out till I started giving them back. And they say, yeah, you can get this one back. You got to give two more back. And I gave the other one back. And they're like, yeah, you gave two back. Now you still got one. What?
Wow. So you're going to have to help us understand, how were you sentenced? You had these 2 ounces, 15 ounces, conspiracy, three separate charges that carried a life sentence each, and then 20 added years for a gun charge, a firearm, and you didn't know that your sentencing for these charges consisted of three life sentences. How did that happen? Help us
Because it's
understand
kind of
that.
crazy and it sounds crazy, I know. But when they sentencing you,
Hmm.
it's like surreal up in there. You gotta think of the energy in the room when you facing something like that. Think of where your nerves are. Think of where your concentration is at.
Mm-hmm.
You're trying to not to miss everything, but at the same time paying attention and you know what I'm saying, you're trying to maintain your composure. This is your life.
Right.
This is your life. So you already know you convicted. So excuse me. So you finna get sentenced. So I'm sitting here listening to him, and when he reading this shit, it's all formal, and he reading it, and he's saying on the charges on counts 39 and 46, I sentenced the defendant to life, to natural life in the federal penitentiary, Federal Bureau of Prisons, right? Until he died. It's basically what he's saying. So you're hearing this like, whoa, I just got a life sentence. So you would think that they ran your charges concurrent.
Mm-hmm.
One of them shall carry life. The conspiracy carried life. They ran that concurrent with the conspiracy, and I got life. But nah, that's not what he said. He said, I'm giving you a life sentence on counts 1, 39, and 46. Right? To run concurrent, and 20 years to run concurrent. Right? So I think I got life and 20 years. Ran concurrent. I can't serve the life.
Mm-hmm.
I only got one. If I give this one to you, I ain't got a life no more. So I can't do one life sentence. So I got a life. That's what I'm thinking. But nah, I had 3 life sentences in 20 years.
Wow. Once that really resonated and you understood it, how did it make you feel?
It made me feel like I would. It made me feel like I these people don't ever want me to go home. It made me feel like that these people have sentenced me to die in prison.
And that's when some clicked in our last conversation, some clicked and you like, this is not the end of my story.
Exactly. I say maybe about 4 years in. Now, mind you, I'm fighting from day one.
Mm-hmm.
So I got locked up in May of '98. I fought my case. We didn't get to go to trial till January of '99.
Mm-hmm.
Our trial lasted 3.5 weeks,
Okay.
right? So our convictions don't come to the beginning of February.
Okay.
Then I fight my sentencing for 9 months. So I'm back in the county for 9 more months. I already got my convictions,
Mm-hmm.
fighting my sentencing. So I get sentenced in November.
And you start fighting from there.
So in November, they send me to uh, Oklahoma.
Okay.
They send me to
That's
Oklahoma.
a transfer
It's a
center.
transfer center,
Okay.
the Federal Bureau of Prison Transfer Center
Mm-hmm.
in Oklahoma. I think I stayed in Oklahoma. I didn't stay long. I don't think on that first trip. Nah, yeah, no, I stayed there like 3 weeks because I think I hit the joint December 17th, 1999.
Okay.
And something like that. It was, if I can remember correctly, I think those are the dates. That's the date. December 17th, 1999. And so now I'm in this penitentiary.
Mm-hmm.
I'm in this penitentiary, Leavenworth, USB. I've been hearing about Leavenworth all my life. Federal penitentiary. They call it the hot house, the big house.
Where did you hear that from? Like from the streets
The
or from?
Leavenworth, just I love westerns, right?
Mm-hmm.
So that's what they talk about in the westerns. Leavenworth,
Okay.
Leavenworth, Kansas, right? So this is the very first federal penitentiary ever built.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's famous. So I'm like, damn, I'm in this motherfucker. Well, I ain't supposed to be cussing.
So how was
So
that experience? Like
uh,
once you get in there, I mean, now you just gotta you gotta go through the motions. What was that experience like? Because I know just listening to the story from the beginning up until now, it brings about a lot, I'm sure, unique challenges and experiences for you. Like, what was that? Tell us a little bit about that.
What in what aspect?
Just just your product, going through it, just going through the motion. You got a lot on you right now. You at this time, do you know you got 3 life sentences? At the
No,
time
I
you're living,
mean
okay, you
I
don't
got
know that
life.
now. You just
So
got
the
life.
3 life sentences to that time is irrelevant.
Okay.
I can the life sentence is too
Was
much,
enough. Yeah.
right? So uh,
Just
it was crazy.
navigating
Just
that.
you go through changes. You know what I'm saying? They
Hmm.
took us in. It's about 40 of us on the bus. They take us down in the basement. It's like dungeon like down here. They open one of these doors and they throw us in these big ass holding cells, and we sit in these holding cells for hours. Right now they processing us in. They coming to the door. They calling certain individuals out. They telling them, uh, calling him out and say, "Okay, you going to the shoe." So he go into the shoe. So they close the door. Call them motherfucker out. Hey, woo, woo, woo. All right. Looking at his record, got his whole file in there. All right. You going to the shoe. Captain's review.
What shoe?
The shoe is special housing unit. That's the
Okay.
whole. So we first come in, people got to be screened. They got to check their paperwork, make sure it's safe for you to hit this compound. You might be somebody that can't walk this compound. They send you out in this compound and you get killed, then that's on them.
Oh,
Because
wow.
they should have known that you couldn't hit this compound. Not to say that they don't send people out in the compound knowing they finna get killed.
What's the reason for that? Like, they know you can't go out into the compound, so they checking that to see if you can be in population or not.
Exactly. Some people done stuff to people that might be in this institution.
Okay.
They got separatists on them,
Hmm.
right? Uh, you might be from a gang that a certain faction that or organization that can't walk this yard because all your enemies are on this compound,
Hmm.
right? All that type of stuff that be in your file,
Oh.
right? So when they were steady coming to the door, they was grabbing people. You know what I'm saying? Captain review, going to the shoe, go this way. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So it wasn't but when they came and got me, the room was almost empty.
Hmm.
When they came and got me, they called me McDonald. Well, yeah, so I grabbed my little bag, whatever, get up there. You got your shackles and all that stuff on. So go up there. They was like, you McDonald? I was like, yeah. They were like, got all your stuff? Like, yeah. All right, come this way. Going to the yard. We finna go where? She said, you going to the compound. I said, compound? I said, well, everybody else went to captain review. Why am I going to the compound? You need to take me to captain review too. I don't know what the fuck going on. But, I don't know what's going on because I'm new to all of this.
Yeah.
But come to find out, my paperwork checked out. No separatees. I ain't told nobody. Ain't nobody looking for me out there. I can hit this yard with no problems. And I went to the compound. Henceforth starts my journey at USP Leavenworth, Kansas.
Did you ever cross paths with anyone? You say you had a 54-man indictment for the conspiracy at the time. Did you ever cross paths with anyone that was on your case with you?
Absolutely, absolutely. Not for a long time.
Hmm.
Um, I probably didn't see the first person I encountered on my case would be uh, would be Frankie Webb, Freaky Frank. um, Me and Frank ran into each other. I want to say 2007
Hmm.
in the medium FCI Forest City Medium Institution.
Okay.
Right.
And
And that
how
was
old were you at the time? What was your age at
when
the
I got
time that
locked
you
up.
got? Yes.
I was 27 years old.
27.
27.
And how old are you now?
53.
53. So you were gone for
25 years.
25 years. Wow. So you going through Leavenworth, you gone through there, this USP, it's like a dungeon. You don't, it's no windows, or what is it like? Do you get to see outside or go outside? What's the environment like other than the intake
You're gonna see
once you got out on the
everything. You're
compound?
gonna see everything that's on the compound.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Most USPs, you don't see no trees. You ain't seeing no other signs of life.
Hmm.
You're gonna see all concrete. You don't see no cars rolling by, none of that. You ain't looking out no windows, you ain't doing none of that. Most USPs, you in there, you behind the wall, and that's all you see is that wall.
So what do
And
you do?
the officers and the workers that's coming in and out to penitentiary, right? And the people that's in here with you. That's all you're gonna see. Now Leavenworth had cats. They had cat houses. They fed the cats, so they had cats all over the rec yard. So when you went outside, you could lay in the grass and you can play with the kittens. You can play with the cats.
Hmm.
Great stress reliever, right? There have been individuals on that compound that would literally kill you about one of them cats.
Hmm.
Yeah, they serious about the damn cat. Don't mess with the cats. Yeah, um, yeah. USPs are terrible.
So
They're
day in
terrible.
and day out, what? How did you start to build a life inside a prison as you fought for your life? Because you never accepted this was going to be the end for you. That was never something that you embraced. So you had to start a journey. Can you walk us through that journey of just finding purpose regardless? Because,
So when I first got there, I was asking people uh, who the best lawyer in here, right? And they everybody was telling me Vic Cole, Vic Cole. So when I went around to Vic's cell, I knocked on the door, introduced myself, told them that I got a life sentence, man. I'm not trying to do it. I'm trying to fight, man. I need a lawyer. Right? They say you the best around here. They say you expensive too. I ain't got no money, bro. They took everything from me,
mm-hmm,
man. But I promise you, bro, whatever your price you set, I'll work for it. I'm gonna make sure you get it. If we gotta work out some like a payment plan, or whatever the case may be. You know what I'm saying? I need you to help me out, bro. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, you really trying to go home? Like, fuck you mean? Yeah, I'm really trying to go home. He was like, well, truth be told, bro, you don't even need me. I'm like, what? I do need you. He was like, nah. He was like, look, I can fight your case, and I'm gonna do my best, right? But every time I need to know something, I'm gonna have to come ask you about it. Did this happen? Did this take place? What was this like?
mm-hmm,
He said, you was there. You know every single thing that happened. Nobody got to tell you nothing. So as you reading these cases and learning this law, he says something jump out at you that'll never jump out at me,
right.
right? He said, so you don't need me. He said, you can do this by yourself. All you got to do is learn the law. He said, this is what you want to do? I'm like, hell yeah. He was like, well, he gave me a case. He was like, take this case and tell me, as thousands of people went home on this
Mm-hmm,
case. Tell me where the action was at in this case. Tell me how they won. Never forget, it was a case called U.S. versus Edwards,
mm-hmm,
right? Supreme Court case. I ended up meeting Edwards, Mike them, Big Mike them later on down the line when I went to Terre Haute, USP.
mm-hmm,
We became good friends. But they lost
mm-hmm.
in that case, the Edwards case. A case about leniency and lesser included offenses. Uh, they lost, right? So he took the case, but still people won, and I wanted me to figure out how the people won in that case. So I took the case and I studied it. I couldn't find it. I studied it again. I studied it again. I studied it again. Finally, a few days later, I took it back to him. I said, "Man, I can't. I don't see it, bro. I done read this case 10 times. I don't see it." He said, "Take it back. Read it some more. Don't come back. Find it." Took it. About a week later, I brought it back. My man, I can't find it, bro. I can't find it. So he was like, you can't find it because you ain't looking. You don't know what you're looking for. You're looking in the wrong place. See, people be thinking about the opinion and the order in the case, but it ain't the opinion and the order was always what's important, right? Sometimes what's most important in a case is language that's inside the case. So in this particular case, these guys had a lot of cocaine and something else to where the sentence was the same for both drugs that they had, right? So they were saying they should get the lesser included offense, but both of these drugs carry 10 to life, right? So they were saying the Supreme Court Justice Day O'Connor said that both of your drugs carry the same amount of time, so you ain't got no case. She said, but if one of your drugs had been marijuana, then you would have a case because the penalties for marijuana are lesser than the penalties for cocaine. Right? That was in her dissent. So people, when that ruling came out, people took that one little paragraph out of her dissent where she said, if it had been this, then you would have got some action. And thousands of people went home based on, because that became law as soon as she said it in that case.
Valuable insight.
You know what I'm saying? That's what he wanted me to find that I couldn't find. But when she showed that to me,
it was on.
Now I understand it. Now I know what I'm looking for. It's always the language.
Yes.
It's always the language. So made me start paying attention to language.
And that's when you started to look into your case?
That's when I started going to the law library every day. And mind you, we didn't have no computers. So I'm going to the law library getting books. I'm starting off with 20 books.
Oh, wow.
Fed thirds. Each book looked like this. I got 20 of them sitting on the table. 2 stacks, side by side. I ain't looking odd because the nigga next to me got 20 of them. And the nigga across from me got 20 of them. Everybody in here serious.
Yeah.
Everybody here trying to go home. Everybody here got 20, 30, 40, 50 eternity sentences. Everybody. This is United States Penitentiary. They ain't putting Rudy Poots up in here. Everybody in here got something vicious going on.
And how long did it take for you to get your life back?
Well, I'm still getting it back.
Well, you're free. You free now. I understand that, and that we'll get to that part. But as far as the fight, like just saying, where we at, your life in prison, you going through the fight, you going through the things, you learning the things that you need to learn to come home. And that day did come. You did have your day in court to where you had given all your life sentences back.
Yep. So let me break it down. So in 2000, a case called New Jersey versus Apprendi versus New Jersey came out, and that case said that in order to be enhanced above your statute, it had to be, the charge had to be in the indictment, it had to be submitted to a jury, and it had to be found by a jury. So those life sentences that I had on 2 of those counts, those charges, what you said, because, all right, first of all, let me say this. I got charged with conspiracy to distribute cocaine-based marijuana. I got charged with 15 ounces distributed in a 15-ounce crack, a sale. I got charged with distributing 2 ounces of crack, a sale. Because of the relevant conduct in the conspiracy, I was sentenced on each one of those counts to 150 kilograms of powder cocaine.
Yes.
How do you do that? How do you charge somebody with one drug and then sentencing them to a whole nother drug. In what country is this constitutional? Where is this just at? I spent 25 years in the federal penitentiary because of this injustice.
Yes.
Right? You charged me with distributing 15 ounces of crack. The evidence showed that it was marijuana. Yet you sentenced me to 150 kilograms of powder.
And how was they able to do that? Hell, I mean, they, even though it's unconstitutionalized, how were they able to do that? How did they package it up and make this be a thing that stuck for the time that you reversed
It was the law at the time. The prosecutor had all power in the courtroom. You know what I'm saying? For the evolution of the law, certain cases and the progenies of those cases have came out and has placed more power back in the judge's hands, right? But back then, the prosecutor found the offender, charged the offender, prosecuted the offender, convicted the offender. He made all the rules. The judge would just sit back and be an overseer in the courtroom. He just making sure you play fair. But the prosecutor had all the power. So what they had to do, they had to snatch some of that power back from the prosecutor and give it back to the judge. And that's how the laws were being able to be, people were coming home more and the judge was able to make more just rulings. Because back then, he didn't have a power. He had to do whatever the prosecutor told him to do, basically. So that's the way they had the laws crafted, right? So that's what it was. So what the prosecutors were doing back then, 50 grams of crack cocaine put you in the category of B1A, which is the sentencing, the statutory sentencing in the Federal Rules of Criminal Procedure for 841A, which is your unlawful act, which is the actual drug charge. So B1A, if you got 50 grams or more, it will put you at a 10 to life range. So what the prosecutor would do back in the 90s, what they would do is they would just charge you with an amount of drugs that would put you in the 10 to life range, knowing all they have to do is get a conviction. Once they got that particular conviction, they're going to stack a whole lot of relevant conduct on top of you and sentence you basically to whatever they want to sentence you to. That's going to give you a life sentence. This is the practice that they were employing in the 90s.
And that's
all across America.
The 150 kilos. Was that just with it being so many people? That was the amount of drugs that was.
That's the highest that you could charge. 150 kilograms of powder. Okay. So 150 kilograms of powder. So when you're dealing with crack cocaine, remember the ratio was 100 to 1. So 150 kilograms of powder was equivalent to 1.5 kilograms of crack.
Was any drugs confiscated in this conspiracy? In this,
there were.
It was
not from me though. They were from people who were testifying. Those people got caught with those drugs. I never saw those drugs. Never touched those drugs. Had nothing to do. Didn't have nothing invested in them drugs or nothing.
And you say testifying, you meaning testifying in court against you, or?
Absolutely.
Okay. And that's how, in the end, the drugs that was in this conspiracy case, how they were able to come up with the 100 and
no,
ghost. That's it's what we just call, still just
that's called ghost dope.
I'm trying to make it make sense.
It don't exist.
Okay, so that did not exist, but that is how they were able to charge you. Wow.
Right. So you would say if this conspiracy ran for 4 or 5 years, right? How many keys was moved? Right? The people that's testifying gonna testify to this, and these people over here gonna testify to that. You're gonna be able to testify to that, and they'll add it all up.
Okay.
Until they get a sufficient amount that'll bury you inside the penitentiary for the rest of your life.
Okay. So your fight, how long was it? How long did it
Well,
take
I
you?
did. I did exactly 24 years and 8 months.
Mm-hmm.
24 years and 8 months. Exactly what I did. How long I was away from my family uh, and my life. It took me 18 years to give all the life sentences back. I gave the first two life sentences back relatively fast because Apprendi came out in 2000,
Mm-hmm.
right? And we filed for it and we won. They didn't bring me back to court to take the life sentences off to 2002. The
Okay.
judge was kind of upset that he got overturned like that. That last life sentence, I kept that one to 2016,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it took me 16 more years to get that one off.
Oh wow.
So what happened was the conspiracy charge got reduced to 20 years. They took that life sentence and made that 20 years. Uh, the 15-ounce charge got reduced to the statutory maximum for marijuana, which was 5 years,
Mm-hmm.
because the evidence showed that it was really weed. Instead of the
Wow.
15 ounces of crack I got charged with.
It's unbelievable.
Right.
Wow.
Um, those are the first two life sentences. And
Mm-hmm.
then on my gun charge, um, we really lames. We know the street, but we don't know nothing about the law. And that's where we falter. That's where we fail at. Right? We're supposed to be studying both sides of that. So I know the streets
That's
and
a
I know the
whole nother
penalties.
story, but
But
I feel I understand where you're coming
but
from.
when I start learning the law and I start understanding and things, so I know how to read the statutes.
Mm-hmm.
So come to find out, my gun charge, they gave me 20 years for, I had a 45 Heckler and Koch. They gave me 20 years for that. But when you go read the statute, and the statute is 922G A1, and they usually will put the penalty for the statute in the charge also. And that's what they did in this particular instance. So my unlawful act
Mm-hmm.
was felon in possession of a firearm. 922G A1.
What's a heckler coat?
Heckler and Koch. That's a
Cop.
that's a
Okay.
brand of a
Oh,
firearm,
okay. The brand of the
right?
gun. Okay.
So 922G A1 is the, you gotta push that. 922G A1. Oh, that's the phone. Somebody calling me.
Yeah. You messing up that thing. Talking about I gotta push
Yeah, but they messed the thing up too. Anyway, 922G 922G A1 is an unlawful act, felony in possession of a firearm. 924 A2 is the penalties for that unlawful act.
Mm-hmm.
So the penalty for the 922G A1 is 924 A2. 924 A2 says 0 to 10, no more than 10. So my penalty for my charge say 0 to 10, no more than 10. How could the judge, my lawyer,
Mm-hmm.
the prosecutor, any designated official in that courtroom let me get sentenced to 20 years for a gun when the statute clearly says 0 to 10, no more than 10? How could you give me double the maximum? How does this happen in a court of law? So they end up taking 10 years off my gun too, and knocking that down to 10. I still got the life sentence. So when I left the courtroom in 2002, my sentence read life, 20, 10, and 5. Ran concurrent. So I went from life, and 20 to life, 20, 10, and 5.
Okay.
Then in 2016, when they passed all drugs minus 2,
Mm-hmm.
they took 2 points off my sentencing guidelines. So that knocked me off from life all the way across the board, took me up 2 notches, and the up 2 notches took me from a level 43 to a level 41. And that level 41, category 4, says 360 to life. So right then, I was able to go to court and get that life reduced to 30 years. And that's what I ended up staying with. And I served that 30-year sentence out. Got a year off my sentence for earned good time credits. And that's how I ended up coming home January 10th, 2023.
Well, welcome home.
Thank
You're
you. I'm
here
happy to be
now.
here.